From soul and hip-hop music to heavy rock and fancy electro-rock, these two composers have had their hands creating some of the most iconic songs by your favorite male seiyuu artists and 2D music projects. You and I are going to talk about Shinnosuke and R.O.N. Let's kick off this episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Welcome to SEIYUU Lounge. I am your host Vanessa, and today's topic is 2D music composers and their quirks, R.O.N and Shinnosuke. This episode is packed with intricate compositions and energy levels that will hype you up. These composers are known for creating music in the most varied genres, however, all have rock music driving their compositions forward. So, chances are that if you follow 2D rock music projects, you've heard of R.O.N before. He's one of the most active composers of 2D music since 2013, quite possibly one of the very first composers joining the 2D music scene in such an intensive way. He has been a composer for seiyuu solo artists and character songs since 2003 as one of the composers for Lantis. Soon after, he made a solo debut, releasing one single in 2006, but it was his work with Old Codex as their guitarist, composer, and arranger that started to put him on the spotlight. He left the band 2 years after it kicked off activities to pursue music that was more in line with what he likes to perform. Call it leaving the band due to creative differences. And as such, after leaving the band in 2012, R.O.N started to focus more on creating music for other seiyuu artists such as Daisuke Namikawa, Tetsuya Kakihara, Kensho Ono, Hiroyuki Yoshino, Shotaro Morikubu, and Trado. And that's when those more detail-oriented started to notice that R.O.N does have a unique style that makes his compositions easy to find regardless of the artist performing the songs. R.O.N also started to focus his efforts in a solo project of his, Stereodive Foundation. In the over a decade creating music as a solo artist, he has composed music for more than 10 different anime series, such as Gangsta and Moriarty the Patriot. And even outside of Anisong, he continues to be quite active, releasing music frequently. As Stereodive Foundation, R.O.N releases songs with vocals, lyrics, and composition, all by him, showing his versatility as an artist. At the same time, he started to be even more active as a composer for 2D music projects midway through the past decade. And that's when those that didn't know him from his previous work with Old Codex or even Stereodive Foundation started to notice him and his addictive brand of rock and EDM music. Since 2016, R.O.N is the driving force behind the Dear Vocalist franchise, having, at the time of writing this feature, composed over 100 songs for it alone, and has worked with the Fabulous Night franchise, A3's Autumn Troupe, HYPNOSIS Mic, between many other groups and franchises. R.O.N is known for his core rock and EDM background, something that gives way to crazy, energetic, and quite intense performances. Expect R.O.N to explore rock music to the fullest through engaging takes on its subgenres: punk, hard rock, electro-rock, acoustic rock, pop rock, acid jazz, and jazz rock. At the same time, he fully embraces electronica, with most of his compositions bringing techno, tropical house, deep bass, and even trap influences into the mix. With this deep knowledge of both music genres, R.O.N plays around with them, morphing elements of each to create songs that you can't find anywhere else. The fact that he is a multi-instrumentalist, playing guitar, bass, synths, and drums flawlessly as well as being a singer, makes it so that his songs, even without lyrics, are able to tell stories to the listener in a vivid way. This is something that is clear as day in all songs in the Dear Vocalist franchise, with the songs created for Kagaribi, Veronica and NSFW being the best ones storytelling-wise. Songs by these three bands are obvious about their stories without even diving into detail when it comes to the lyrics. You understand the feelings of the vocalists in each and every single little detail in the composition that may go from a delicate piano melody to a shamisen hit or just the way a guitar screams in the lead. Just listen to Kasetsu and Disappeared from Kagarebi and NSFW's Sorakara Furuyume. And this storytelling touch is something that very few composers in 2D music have. The best ones at making sure the instrumental tells a story are undoubtedly R.O.N, Takeshihama and Akira Takizawa. Not only R.O.N is involved in the Dear Vocalist franchise as its composer since the start, but he has also recently been promoted to its executive music producer. This is crazy, but R.O.N has now complete creative freedom to create the music that fits the stories in the lyrics, instead of being given guidelines on how to compose the music for each vocalist. The results are here for everyone to see. All songs released since 2021, when R.O.N was confirmed to take on the role of executive music producer, took a massive leap creatively. Given how the franchise was already filled with awesome music, now it is even more impressive. R.O.N's composition style is easily among my favorites for a wide variety of reasons. First off, storytelling runs through his songs. You do not need lyrics to feel the stories that he is trying to convey to you. Then, the fusion of music genres, making EDM music appealing to non-fans, as well as making rock music welcoming to those that are not that big fans of the genre. Adding to that is the iconic guitar riff that is by now a trademark in his songs, instantly putting a smile on my face. Then, the quality of the mixing in his songs. This is something I geek about a lot, especially being a composer and arranger myself. A composition is only good if the arrangement allows it. R.O.N does amazing arrangements to his songs, making sure that not only you are listening to unique compositions with an addictive energy, but you are also transported into them. The soundstage in his compositions is almost 3D, with all instruments panned in the right places and leaving enough breathing space for the listener to take in what is happening around them. Then is the fact that when he is called on stage to perform the songs he composes for 2D music projects, something that has happened in the Dear Vocalist franchise, he knows how to put on a show and transform EDM tunes into dark, rave, heavy rock bangers. If you have the opportunity to listen and watch the live performance arrangement of NSFW's Pinch Ichi Rei Nigo, performed by Ryohei Kimura as A-, you'll be blown away by how he arranges and remixes his songs. And of course, how R.O.N is always pushing the artists he works with to always overcome themselves, composing more and more complex songs as time goes by, something that playfully Somasaito, for example, complained about during a cast talk track in one of Dear Vocalist's albums. Now, when it comes to noticing R.O.N's compositions, I can tell you that he is one of the easiest composers to find into the music, due to how he has a lot of quirks and trademark details that are present in all his songs, no matter how different they are from each other. So, the biggest tell that you are before one of R.O.N's compositions is his guitar tone and amp combo sound. That sound has been a trademark of his, and no matter how many guitars he goes through in his career, the configuration and setup is always the same. Then it's the really unique use of high chords in his guitar riffs to open each song. Just check the intro guitar riffs in Kagaribi's SEIYUU and SEIYUU's Keep Looking, or the leading riffs in Reodo's Champion, or even in Old Codex's Flag on the Hill. Although in different keys in all the songs I just suggested you to check, that guitar riff is in all those songs that R.O.N composes, and the tone in his guitar and amp combo is quite peculiar, making his rock music quite easy to find. When it comes to electronica, it's the maddening intensity, whether it is down or up tempo, that he brings to his compositions. The bass lines are punchy and groovy, even if dark at times. The synths lead the way, but there is always much more, adding layers of allure or violence to the EDM tunes he composes. Good examples are found in NSFW's Crazy Nutrient and Pinch Ichirei Nigo, Veronica's Guren Shinjo, and even Stereotype Foundation's Omega. As it is, R.O.N is one of the most complete composers out there, and easily one of the most creative when it comes to using rock and EDM music hand in hand. There's a reason why people get excited when they know R.O.N is composing music for a 2D music project. It's because he is synonymous with unique, high-quality music, going down from the compositions to vocal direction, even to the arrangements and mastering. Now, if you are into intense yet stylish EDM music, hip-hop and funk, you will have to shift your focus to Shinnosuke. Shinnosuke started his career in the music industry in 2005 as the DJ for the hip-hop band Sold Out. During his time with the group, he was composing and arranging songs for other artists such as the superstar idol group Arashi. Sold Out disbanded in 2014, and since then Shinnosuke has been working more intensely as a composer for other artists, including SEIYUU artists such as Wataru Hatano, Takuma Terashima, Jin Ogasawara, and Tasuku Hatanaka. In 2015, he joined the Idolish 7 franchise as one of its composers, lending his talents to Trigger's Last I Mentioned and Leopard Eyes, as well as Idolish 7's Fly Away. He then started to work more closely with Trigger, composing one of their most iconic songs, the up-tempo, intense rock meets drum and bass tune, Crescent Rise. More recently, he composed Trigger's Radiance, an R&B ballad part of their 2022 single Suicide, and Idolish 7's Because Now, song part of their 2022 single Mellow Blue. Although Shinnosuke doesn't have solo work, you could find him working as part of the duo Buzz Vibes alongside the veteran SEIYUU artist Shotaro Morikubo. The piano is a driving force in Shinnosuke's compositions, bringing his soul and funk roots to the spotlight. That enables him to compose beautiful ballads, emotional R&B tunes, and fancy pop music. Then he also brings a bit of hip-hop to the beats he uses in his compositions. Although most of what he has composed in recent years tends to embrace more of an EDM type of deep bass beat, from time to time he brings those old-school hip-hop beats to the spotlight. His compositions are always quite stylish and intense at the same time, which is a rare combination. You have washy synths in the background as screaming guitars are in front of you, and the beautiful piano makes the stage ridiculously pretty, ready to make the singers shine. I love this about Shinnosuke's compositions, the effortlessly groovy and stylish sound allied to an intensity that is not found anywhere else. This makes his compositions quite unique, but also at the same time not as easy to spot as you would have thought after all that I just explained to you. So it's not easy to spot Shinnosuke's music, not even with a lot of exposure to his compositions. He never composes music in the same way and doesn't seem to have any big quirks that instantly tell everyone that you are listening to a composition of his. So in a way, I can more or so tell I'm listening to a composition by Shinnosuke because of a combination of factors. So it's the intensity in his music, how groovy it is, the funk and soul influences in the composition, and how stylish it sounds like. But you may be thinking, Vanessa, that doesn't help me easily spot his songs. And I get you, I do. When it comes to Shinnosuke, it's not easy to find his compositions. It really goes down to combining certain elements that you know that for sure he has and no other composer will have at the same time in their compositions. And that requires listening to a lot of music. And with this, let's wrap up this episode and go to the outro. This time around, you and I got to talk about R.O.N, who is literally the executive music producer for the Dear Vocalist franchise, while also a creative mind for many other 2D music projects and artists. His music is iconic and he has a lot of quirks going on in there that make him easily noticeable, however, in a good way. So while there are composers that are known for being incredibly lazy with their style, with all groups and artists they compose music for sounding all the same, and thus have noticeable quirks, in R.O.N's case, it's his style and guitar sound that give him away while creating unique music for all artists he works with. On the other hand, you got to check a bit of Shinnosuke's career as a composer and arranger. He has been an important part of the Idolish 7 franchise, working more closely with Trigger in their high-tension songs. Contrary to R.O.N, Shinnosuke doesn't have any easily noticeable tell in his compositions. It's more about the overall vibe, having several elements in the equation that at least make it easy for me to notice his compositions or suspect that he is the composer behind them. I hope you got curious about their work and the groups they've composed music for and actually check their music out. So now tell me, do you have a favorite song composed by R.O.N or Shinnosuke? If yes, which is it and why? Let me know in the comments on YouTube, and remember, leave your comments as complex or as simple as they may be, and you can be featured on upcoming episodes of SEIYUU Lounge. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this episode and don't want to miss the Handed Feeds HQ's weekly mail SEIYUU and music related content. I'll return next week with another episode of SEIYUU Lounge. Thank you for listening and see you guys around.